friends, please excuse all of the laundry in the back that I have to do. Hold on, let me make the lighting a little bit better. I don't actually know if that helped at all, but it is a Friday morning, mid-January, and I thought it would be cool if we did like a little talk, a little cozy night in, or morning in. We talked about where I've been, answered some questions. I have been speaking recently about how I've been struggling with seasonal depression. It always gets really, really bad in December and January, and then it starts to taper off a little bit. Depression is something that I struggle with all year long. I have PMDD, which is a chronic depressive episode, depressive disorder. I have adjustment disorder, anxiety, tons of stuff. And depression is something that I deal with on a regular basis. But during the winter, it's really, really hard. And I'm on meds, and I've gotten myself a light to use in the mornings to simulate sunlight. I've done all of the things. I'm in therapy. It's still hard. It still hits me, and I don't think there's much that I can do at this point, and that's honestly the thing that I struggle with the most. The acceptance, it's something that I work with my therapist every single week. It's something that inevitably comes up. I have a lot of anger and hurt around everything to do with my mental health. And it's really hard. And if someone hasn't said that to you and you're struggling, and no one, even including yourself, has acknowledged how hard it is to be human, but also to have depression or anxiety or autism or ADHD or anything that you're struggling with, if nobody has acknowledged how hard it is to get up every day and do what you need to do, it is hard. And I see you, and I'm proud of you. And I want you to sit with those words. I want you to sit with those words and say them to yourself, and recognize that you are deserving of love and compassion and empathy towards yourself, and that you don't have to be strong all the time, and your needs are value neutral. Those are the things that I have been telling myself, trying to tell myself. That's one of the hardest things for me personally, is accepting needs and voicing my needs and reaching out to others for help. I always like to say that I'm independent, but that's not independence in my opinion. Independence also has an element of being able to ask for help when you need it. With autism and with all of our other various traumas, struggle to do. So that's something that I'm working on, and it's acceptance and also expressing needs are two of my hardest things. I have been working in therapy for over a year now. My therapist is absolutely amazing. I couldn't ask for anyone better, but there's still things that stick around. There's still learned behaviors from childhood that I haven't even started to unpack yet. I really struggle with defeatists, I guess, mindsets. When I get into depressive episodes, it's really hard to be in one all by itself, but it's also hard when your brain is beating you up and just telling you, like, why can't you be normal? Why do you have to go through this? Why aren't you over this? Like, all of that is also very hard. And if you also do that to yourself, I see you. I love you. You deserve so much kindness and compassion and empathy. And if anybody hasn't told you this, it is hard, and it is okay that it is hard. It's okay to tell yourself that it's hard and give yourself that acceptance of, this is where I'm at and this is hard. My heater just cut on, so if you hear a loud noise in the background, that's what it's going to be. It's quite chilly here. It is in the 20s, so that's another thing that I struggle with. I really love the winter and I love to cozy up, but I think this is a pretty common autistic thing. I really struggle with temperature regulation and recognizing appropriate clothing, and knowing what I should dress for and how I should dress. Recognizing those signs is hard. So yeah, winter can be difficult, so can summer. Really hot temperatures, it gets pretty hot here. It can be a struggle to know the appropriate attire and have the appropriate attire. For me, that looks like just a lot of layers. I have plenty of hoodies. Hoodies are my preferred clothing, so I have a lot of hoodies. I just bundle up, but that's a topic for another day. But over the past couple of months, like I said, I've been struggling really hard, and my days look really the same of like just trying to get the smidgen of happiness where I can, try to keep some semblance of a routine and take my meds and do all of the things that I should be doing, and hope that one day I will feel better. And that is the hardest like cycle to break, is feeling like you're always going to be where you are, you're always going to be at your worst, and feeling like where you are now is the worst you've ever felt. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I have a very like fatalist mindset where I can't imagine anything getting worse than where I'm at. This is the worst it's ever been. I'm gonna die if I don't get out of this. Like, not suicidal ideation, well, sometimes, but not necessarily that, but almost like I'm never gonna be happy again, and what's the point? And all of those like really dark thoughts, which I think are completely natural, especially someone who has depression. And I don't try to like push back on those, but it's also very hard to get to the point where you're like, okay, at this point I'm wallowing and I need to push myself out of that. Like getting past the point of like, this is natural, letting those thoughts come and wash over me, and then letting them go. The letting them go part is really hard, and I think that comes with like the acceptance. And so the acceptance is really the hardest part for me. And I've had several breakthroughs in therapy, recognizing that a lot of the anger and unfairness that I feel, while completely valid, is from a lot of hurt and from a lot of desire to have no needs. And I'm trying to like, again, break myself of that. Hi, bud. Cats really help also. I have my two of my babies here with me. We have Oswald and we have Gotham. Oswald is determined to sit on the camera. So as far as the past like week or so, I have been feeling a lot better. I've been able to get back into a regular workout routine, a regular daily routine that I feel good about. I have a very like nebulous life. I wouldn't say that anything in my life is particularly like time constrained. Is that a word? I'm just making up words here. I'm just not like a super busy person. I don't have a ton of deadlines, so I can kind of structure my days however I want, which is great, but not great for an autistic person who values routine. And so I struggle a lot to maintain routines, and I find that if I'm not in a routine, a lot of the things that I know I should be doing for the betterment of myself fall by the wayside. So over the past like week or so, I have been falling into a good routine of like making sure that I'm working out every day and making sure that I'm getting my 3 meals, drinking my water, doing the things that recharge my batteries or replace my spoons, if you will. So I would say I'm doing better. I'm not 100% there. I'm definitely not back to like my base level or even like above my base level, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's really, I feel like all I can ask for. All I can ask myself to do is try and acknowledge the amazing efforts that I'm putting in, even when it's like really hard. I'm excited for the new year. We have a lot of plans for traveling and a lot of fun stuff coming up this year that I'm excited for, and just like a lot of stuff that I never thought I would be able to do. I'm getting some steady growth here on my YouTube channel that I'm very excited about. I'm excited to find more of you guys that like my stuff and interact and love the same things that I do and resonate with what I talk about and build our community here a little bit every day. I love that. This is like my greatest creative outlet, and I love that people are finding. Now I thought I could answer some questions, and I'm also gonna get ready for the day. So we're gonna do a little bit of skincare. I should have pre-set this up, but let me get all my skincare stuff together, and then we'll be back to answer some of y'all's questions. Okay, so excuse my dirty mirror. If you didn't notice it before, now you do. I'm so sorry. So let's do some questions that you guys asked over on my community tab and my Instagram. This is completely a side note, but I deleted my Instagram. So any like community interaction that I have will be over on the community tab here on YouTube going forward. But first up, I already cleansed my face with this La Roche-Posay cleanser. A lot of you asked about my animals, which thank you, my people. If you don't know, I have 8 animals. I have 3 cats, 3 ferrets, a leopard gecko, and a tortoise. Thankfully, everybody is doing very well. No incidents. 2 of my ferrets had some health concerns within the past couple of months, but everything is good now, fingers crossed, and everyone's good. So they're my little angel beans, my entire reason for existing, and I'm very happy that they're doing well. So my first up is going to be the hyaluronic acid. I have done this in my evening routine that I posted in January, but it's my hyaluronic acid. I am running out, which is good because one of my goals for the year was to use all the products that I have. I did a bathroom clean out again in January, and I kept some stuff that I wasn't expired and that I plan to use. And I don't know if I'm necessarily gonna repurchase all the same things, but we have them. And then next we have a glycolic acid gel by Naturium. The first question that I got was, how do I stay motivated and productive? Another question was, how do I stay motivated with my like working out and stuff? And I will say motivation is a very fleeting thing. Motivation comes and goes. There's going to be days where, in regards to working out and productivity, especially if you are like me and have depression, where you just don't want to get up, you don't want to try, you don't want to do any of the things that maybe you know are good for you, but you just don't have the energy. And some days that's really okay. Like some days sitting in bed and doing nothing or resting, as the appropriate term should be, is the best course of action. It is the thing that you should be doing for yourself. But when it gets into the territory of like laziness, I hate that word, but when it gets into the territory of like, okay, you know that you can do it, like mentally you have the energy, you can do it, but you just aren't for whatever reason, that is when you have to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing, and you have to have a good reason why. I'm using a vitamin C serum right now. You have to have a good reason why. There are a lot of reasons why people focus on productivity. There's goals that they want to achieve, or when they're in regards to working out, there is like, you know, health reasons, or maybe they want to fit into an outfit, or they want to just feel better. Whatever your reasoning for doing what you're doing, it needs to be a good one, and it can't be motivated by anybody but yourself. Like, if you are working out because you want to look like someone else, that's never gonna be like, that's never gonna work. There has to be an internal motivation, and there can be an external motivation as well if you're an externally motivated person, but there has to be a reason, a good reason why. And that's why I say motivation is very fleeting, because in my mind, motivation is like, okay, I saw this girl on Instagram and she's like a size 0 and I really want to like wear the same outfits as her or whatever. However, you have to have the discipline, again, I hate that word as well, to back up why you're doing what you're doing. So for example, the reason that I work out every single day or try to work out every single day is because I know that it helps with my depression and my ADHD. Those are two things that greatly impact my life. They can ruin a day. They can keep me from being able to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. And so it's not even that I necessarily have like a goal weight in mind, or that I want to look a certain way, or that I want to fit into an outfit. It's purely that I know that if I work out every day or I move in some way every day, that my brain will shut the fuck up. Because when I don't, my brain is like, why are you laying in bed? Why are you just reading? Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? This is why you're depressed. You deserve to be depressed. How do I manage stress and stay balanced in life? And how do I handle work-life balance? So I think I've talked about this pretty often on my channel. I have a pretty low stress work. I have a lot of downtime to myself, and maintaining that work-life balance is pretty easy for me. I guess the challenge for me is maintaining like my creative life and regular life balance, because I'm constantly on when it comes to my creativity. And I think that is just a lot. It's very common for creative people to just like constantly be on, constantly be thinking about their next project or what they want to do, and like thinking of their life through a creative lens like that, I think is pretty common. But it's hard for me to sometimes be really present, and even especially when I am going through a depressive episode, it's very hard for me to be present. And I guess that leads back to the how do I manage stress. I don't manage stress that well. I, like I said, have been in therapy for over a year now, and we are just getting to the point where we're starting to work on like resourcing myself, what I can do in the moment when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And the things that I really try to prioritize are the tasks that I can do in the moment that recharge my batteries. So my favorite hobbies, listening to music, playing video games, watching TV. I find that doing things that you love that you don't often do really helps. So for example, in December I was really struggling, so I stopped filming, I stopped reading, I fully dived into watching TV and movies, and it was a fantastic reset for me, because it just changed up like what my everyday looked like, and it helped kind of like change the way that my brain was working, if that makes sense. And so I have some other resources that I've gotten through therapy that really help when I feel like my life is spinning out of control. But I really struggle with a balance in my life. There's nothing, again, in my life that's like super pressing. I don't have a big family. I don't have a lot of obligations. My partner and I have been together 10 years, so we're very much at the like maintenance stage of our relationship. We aren't like very demanding of each other's time and stuff like that, very flexible with each other. So my best recommendation for managing stress is do an audit of your life. Go back to a time when you were feeling really good, everything felt great, everything was flowing really well, your mental well-being was good, and think about what you were doing day to day and evaluate what has changed. What are you doing different than what you were doing before? Is it something where you're not taking your meds, or you have stopped eating breakfast, you've stopped moving your body, you've stopped reading, whatever, like in that time in your life was really helping. What have you stopped now? And try to reincorporate that back into your life. And also take a really hard look at the patterns that you're in. So are you managing stress by buying? Are you Are you overeating? Are you rotting in bed? Like, what are you doing that is not actually helping? It's making things worse. Evaluate your thought patterns, evaluate the cycles that your brain takes you down, and get to the root cause and start from there. All right, I'll do my my last skincare, which is the La Roche-Posay Double Repair Face Moisturizer. Let me put this on and then we'll talk about the things that I probably won't be repurchasing, and then we'll answer some of the last questions. And I am not stingy with my moisturizer at all. I lather this thing up all the way down. So this is my shiny face. Sometimes I look even more shiny because I use like Aquaphor and stuff at night. I will probably be getting more hyaluronic acid. I don't have an issue with the Inky Lists product, so I'll probably repurchase this. I will not be repurchasing a coffee bean eye cream just because I don't like the way that it like interacts with my eyes. It kind of like burns my eyes a little bit. But a vitamin C serum, I would say, is probably the thing that I have had the most difference with. This really helps with like spot acne and stuff like that. Okay, my autofocus is doing overtime. I didn't use this today, but I also use a pore serum for my blackheads. And then lastly, I love this moisturizer. I do have another full thing of moisturizer that I will be using before I get this again, but I will definitely be repurchasing that. And I'll get this Naturium glycolic acid again. But that's it as far as my skincare. I would like to knock down some steps because I feel like this is just too much. I know there's people that have like 15 step skincares, but that's just way too much for me. So, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self? There's a lot that I would tell my younger self. And I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give my younger self is that it's okay to admit when you're struggling. It's okay to seek help. You are not a bad person because you have needs, and the people that you think are fulfilling you are draining you. I mistook attachment wound flare-ups for positive reinforcement in a relationship. I really struggled to find acceptance, and when I was a kid I always felt like I was out of step with everybody else. I didn't fit in. I didn't understand anybody around me, and I felt like if I showed who I truly was, that I would never have friends, that I would never have anybody love me, that everybody would find out that I was weird and different, and I was bullied regardless of how I acted. And so I really couldn't be myself, and it shaped who I am now. It's shaped me into, like, I don't know who I would be if I didn't feel like I had to repress myself for 20 years of my life, and I didn't learn that there was something wrong with me from a very early age. I don't know who I would be. I don't know how I would feel if I had learned that lesson, if someone had just said that to me and showed me that I was okay and beautiful and amazing and worthy of being myself. I don't know who I would be now. But I think that's what I would tell my younger self, is like, there's nothing wrong with you, and you're not bad because you have needs. You're not bad because you're different than other people, and you don't have to work as hard to make people love you, because they're gonna love you if they love you, and if they have good intentions then they'll love you, and if they don't have good intentions then you don't need their love. That's like the biggest advice I would give to myself now, and when I was a kid, and everybody, that's the biggest advice I would give. What are some ways you stay inspired and creative in your daily life? like I said, I'm a pretty creative person. I'm pretty much always in a creative mindset. I'm always thinking about my next project, what I want to be doing. I think that YouTube is a big motivation in that way. I allowed myself to be creative. I was naturally enticed by the books that I was reading, the shows that I was watching, and now that has kind of morphed into other creatives, other pieces of art, people putting their art out there, other people's YouTube videos, just other people being creative around me really inspires me. And it depends on the sort of mood that I'm in, but I will always seek out other pieces of media when I'm feeling uninspired, because that inspires me in my own ways. What's your favorite way to unwind after a busy day? Probably set some mood lighting, put Twilight on the TV, and read a fantasy book. How do you handle burnout or feeling overwhelmed? As an autistic person, I'm pretty much overwhelmed all the time. And burnout is an inevitability kind of with autism, unfortunately. I, again, don't handle it very well. I've spoken pretty regularly about burnout on my channel. Again, I would say do the activities that recharge you, and if you find that the things that usually help you aren't helping you anymore, do something different. Do a hobby that you don't usually do that you find a lot of enjoyment from. How do you prioritize your mental and emotional health? My mental and emotional health is very prioritized in my life. I talk about it here on my YouTube channel. I see 2 therapists. I'm on medication. I journal every single day. I'm constantly talking and thinking about my mental health. That's part of being neurodivergent and getting stuck in thought patterns. But that's also just a really big priority in my life. I want to be the best that I can be mentally, because I have been at my lowest lows and I know who I am at my lowest lows, and I don't like that person. I find that if I'm not prioritizing it, I get to the worst, and no one deserves to live like that. Even if you feel like you do, even if you feel like you're the worst person in the world, no one deserves to be struggling. To me, putting as much effort into my emotional and mental well-being is worth it. Sometimes it's fucking exhausting. Sometimes it's like, can we just get over this? Can we just get it done? But showing up for myself and doing everything that I possibly can to improve is the way that I prioritize. Constantly thinking about it. I might overthink in some ways, but checking in with myself, regularly journaling, identifying the signs and signals that your brain and body are giving you are really important. And the last question is, what's a habit you've recently developed that's made a big impact on your life? I don't want to be cheesy and say daily movement, but I'm gonna have to say daily movement. And I hate that I'm one of those people, because I don't believe that just getting outside and walking can cure your depression. I'm doing so many other things besides walking on a treadmill for an hour every day to help my mental well-being. Like I said, I see 2 therapists, I'm on medication, I journal, I do all of the activities that are recommended, I do meditation, I do all of those things. And movement is just a part of it, but I have seen a huge help in my productivity levels, in my ADHD, all of that. Just getting out of bed and moving. And I wouldn't even, I'm sure it's the actual act of moving my body, but a lot of it is like the release of shame and guilt of just doing it, because a lot of the motivation I think that people have for movement is like, I know I should, and when I don't, I beat myself up for it. And so just doing it every day and knowing that I can relax and my brain isn't gonna be telling myself that I deserve bad mental health because I'm not doing everything that I possibly could, that is a huge relief for me. And so doing these little actionable things has really helped. And I'm not saying that the treadmill is the cure. I'm not saying that strength training and lifting weights is the cure. That's just, or anything's a cure really. That's just stuff that I enjoy. I love swimming. I love lifting weights. I like getting on my treadmill. and doing high incline. I like those things. They make my body feel good, but I also really like dancing. You can get Dance Dance Revolution or Just Dance on the Switch. You can dance every day. You could do something low impact like yoga. You could do bar classes. There's so many free resources that you could do from the comfort of your home. For the first like several weeks, I didn't leave my home to work out at all. I lifted weights at home. There's calisthenics that you can do, which require no weights at all. It's just your body weight. There's so many different options of things that you can do at home that you can work up to. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be good. You can struggle. You can struggle alone in your room, on your floor. You don't need weights. You don't need a mat. You don't need any of these other tools. You can just go to Google, go to YouTube on your phone, look up some channels, and start in your room. You don't have to finish the video. You don't have to do anything like that. You don't have to commit to a crazy schedule. You can do one a day, one video a week, commit to 10 minutes. Then when you get through those 10 minutes, tell yourself 10 more minutes. Do whatever you need to do. And I promise you, you'll feel better. I hate to say that. And this is coming from someone, again, who does so many things outside of movement that help my mental well-being. Just moving your body. It doesn't have to be anything intense. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But movement is very grounding. And when you're all in your head, you need to be grounded in your body. Like, that's so important. It's such a good reminder of where you're at. It's such a good reminder that what you're going through is not the end-all be-all. It's not the only way you're ever gonna feel. It's important to get back into your body, and that's the way that I have found that it works best for me. So that's the habit that I've picked up that's been the most impactful over the past couple of months. But that's it. That's my whole rant on mental health and all that shit. But I would love to talk down in the comments. If this is my first video of yours, I would love to know some of your habits. What do you love to do? What's some of your favorite hobbies? What refills your batteries? I would love to just talk down below. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and check out my backlist if you want to see more stuff from me. My social medias are linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.